Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose.
Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. Of course, normally you would see me with my co-host, Russ Livingood, but we are having some unbelievably rough technical difficulties right now. So in order to even get a preview out, it looks like I'm going to have to take care of this thing solo. I wasn't planning to do that. I wasn't ready to do that, but we're going to try to get through it in this ComAssist KY.com Marshall football preview. It's the Sun Belt Conference Championship game preview of all games. To have to try to make one go solo, but hey, you got to give the fans what they want, and unfortunately, we're just unable to get both of us on the stream right now. So Marshall took care of business against James Madison and secured their spot in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. And it's going to be a tough one. Louisiana is a 10-2 team. They also have only one loss in conference. They were able to pick up a P4 win this year over Wake Forest. So really good Louisiana team that the Herd is going to have to go down to Lafayette and play just tomorrow. The game itself is going down December 7th at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. That's right, prime time slot for the Herd on the Big Dog on ESPN. Marshall coming in 9-3, 7-1. Louisiana 10-2, 7-1. Their lone loss in conference was 24-22, a home loss to South Alabama. Marshall's lone loss in conference was a 1-point loss on the road to Georgia Southern. Very, very similar teams in terms of record and kind of really how good they are. Louisiana is just really good on both sides of the football. Marshall lately has been a little less efficient offensively and defense, but they're finding ways to win games, and that's just something you can't ever count out. When a team is finding ways to win, then you got to think they'll continue to find those ways to win. Listen, this is the third all-time meeting between the Herd and the Cajuns. The Herd's 0-2 against Louisiana. If you'll remember, the very first meeting was the 2021 New Orleans Bowl, Marshall's final game of the Conference USA era, and that was a tough one. You know, Marshall had the lead, and the momentum in that game flipped when Willie Johnson was hit on a punt return opportunity. He had called fair catch, and he just got laid out. And, flags were thrown. It was obviously a pretty bad play, and that ignited the Herd sideline. But Louisiana took control of the game at that point, and Marshall was really unable to do anything in the final fourth quarter really of that game to come back and get a win. Then the second matchup was the 2022 midweek, Marshall's first year in the Sun Belt. We brought Louisiana to Huntington for the midweek game and lost 23-13. That was a game Marshall debuted the Black Helmets, if you'll remember. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I think that I'm accurate here, but if I'm not mistaken, that was the first start for current Louisiana starting quarterback Ben Woolridge. So Marshall's got him on his first one and potentially his last Sun Belt game because he is a senior. I have no idea if he's got an extra year of eligibility or a red shirt left or whatever, but just an interesting tidbit. The ESPN Power Index doesn't really like the Herd that much in an away game. 39.7% chance to win for Marshall, currently setting plus 5.5 with an over-under of 57.5. Marshall's been a road dog for the past 2 weeks anyway, and been able to go to Norfolk and get a win and go to Harrisonburg and get a win. So don't count the Herd out just because they're a road dog yet again. Third time in 3 weeks, looking to go 3-0, and this time bring home another one for the trophy case. This is the time where I would usually ask Russ those three big questions, but I'm just going to ask them and give you my answers. Number one big question, glaring, hanging over everything this week, is the news around Coach Huff, and will he leave Huntington? Is he going to be the next coach at Southern Miss, and all that goes into that? So my question is, has the news surrounding Coach Huff negatively impacted the Herd's preparation? I don't think it's negatively impacted the preparation. These guys want to win a championship too. And they've worked all year long, all spring, all summer, fought for position playing time and position groups and all that kind of stuff and overcome a lot of adversity, weathered some injuries. You don't get down to it right now and just pack it in. I think the news of a coaching change is vastly irrelevant for these guys because there's going to be guys that if Coach Huff leaves, they're going to follow him. So it's not like they're worried about who the next coach is going to be. You've got seniors who are playing their last game. That situation doesn't affect them either. You've got guys that if this happens, they're going to follow coach wherever coach goes. So that doesn't affect them either. And then you've got guys that are normally just going to hit the portal. This is their opportunity to win a championship at the Division I football level. And I think that matters. I don't think rumors, or even if they're more than rumors, are affecting this team's preparation. They're locked in. We've got a lot of high achievers that I believe want to win a championship for themselves, for their teammates, and for this university and the city, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to go out a winner? Number 2, will Marshall be able to sack Ben Woolridge at least 3 times? This is a guy that's only been sacked 11 times all year. So will the Herd be able to get to him at least 3 times? I don't know. Louisiana has 2 first-team all-conference offensive linemen, but of course Marshall boasts the Sun Belt Player of the Year in defensive end extraordinaire Mike Green and a bevy of other great defensive linemen on this team. It's easily the most stacked position group for the Herd. Number 3, does Louisiana have a home field advantage this week? We know that their stadium is under construction. Not very many tickets have been sold with this one. And they just announced a little bit ago that despite the best efforts, they were not able to shore up the side of the stadium enough to open it up, one side of the entire stadium. So the side that the fixed camera is going to be on is I think, going to be staring at empty seats, which is not a good look. Only 2 of the 12 sections when you go to buy tickets at Cajun Field are showing low availability. 3 of them have high availability, and the hill section is all high availability. So I just don't think there are very many tickets that have been sold for this game. It's not out of the realm of possibility for me to say that if this game were in Huntington, more tickets would have been sold. So I don't know. The Louisiana earned the right to host the game. You can't take that away from them, but it's just unfortunate that they're having, stadium construction and people just aren't turning out. People are not buying tickets to the game, and that's unfortunate. So, no, I don't think they're going to have a home field advantage. As a matter of fact, I think these 2 teams are going to go up against one another, and it's going to be mano a mano, and the best man's going to win these matchups. So I don't think you can count Cajun Field as any type of home field advantage whatsoever. Another big storyline that we've heard this week through pressers is several of the players that were out or limited against James Madison in the regular season finale. We are hearing I won't call them a full go, but they are expected to return and play in this game, namely DB Josh Moten, linebacker Landon Watson, did not play against James Madison. Both of them are supposed to return for the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. Logan Osborne was injured and came back and played. He's supposed to play again in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. And A.J. Turner, who has been limited for like the last month, is also expected to play in this game. 4 huge weapons for Marshall that are impact players. There's just no way around it. You need your full complement of players, even if these guys are limited. If you can get a handful of good plays out of all of them, that is way better than not having them at all. This game pits a lot of individual achievers against one another in this game. The Sun Belt Coach of the Year, Mike Desormeaux, Louisiana head coach, is going up against is coupling with the Offensive Player of the Year and Louisiana quarterback Ben Woolridge to go up against the SBC Player of the Year and the Newcomer of the Year in her defensive end Mike Green and Marshall quarterback Braylon Braxton. And add to that Marshall also has a secret weapon kind of deal in the special teams game. Yeah, I know Louisiana kicker is a first-team all-conference kicker, but Ian Foster's first-team all-conference kick returner. You got to love all this stuff. All in all, Louisiana has 11 Sun Belt Conference all Sun Belt Conference performers, not counting honorable mentions. They got 4 first-teamers on offense, 1 first-teamer on defense, and 1 on special teams. Marshall has 9 across the all-conference teams, 1 on offense, 3 on defense, and 1 on special teams on the first team alone. There is just a lot of talent at a lot of places in this game for both teams. So let's talk about who we've got to worry about in this ComAssistKY.com Marshall football preview. Let's talk about the Cajuns and who they're going to come to town, or not come to town with, who they're going to take the field with and try to bring home another conference championship on their behalf. It starts with SBC Offensive Player of the Year, quarterback Ben Woolridge, 6'3", 216. He's a senior, 185 out of 271 on the year. He's got 2,392 yards, 17 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. Yep, of course, he's a first-team all-conference player. 61 carries on the year, 192 yards, and 5 touchdowns. But like I said, only been sacked 11 times. This is a point of contention for Marshall because they get to the quarterback a lot, and Louisiana does not allow a lot of quarterback sacks. It's going to be running back Bill Davis and Xylon Perry for the Cajuns. 5'9", 235 freshman for Bill Davis. 150 carries leads the Cajuns. 777 yards leads the Cajuns. 9 touchdowns on the ground leads the Cajuns. That's good for 5.2 yards per carry. And then Perry's 5'11", 207. He's just a sophomore, so a lot of youth in the backfield. For the Cajuns, 95 carries for 621 yards for Perry, 4 touchdowns on the ground. Good for 6.5 yards per carry. He was an All-Sun Belt honorable mention selection. Wide receiver and the receiving core, actually, a couple of wideouts we're going to feature, and then a tight end. It's wide receiver Lance Legendry, 6'2", 218-pound senior, 44 receptions, second on the team, 733 yards leads the team, 6 touchdowns through the air leads the team. That's good for 16.7 yards per reception. He was a third-team All-Sun Belt Conference selection. Tight end Terrence Carter, 6'2", 239. He's a big weapon for the Cajuns. Just a sophomore, 48 receptions leads this Cajun team, 689 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air, 14.5 yards per reception. He was a first-team All-Sun Belt Conference selection. And then lastly, it's Harvey Broussard, a wide receiver, 6'3", 183-pound sophomore, 27 catches, 406 yards, and 3 touchdowns, good for 15 yards per reception. So your 2 main receiving targets are Legendry and Carter, with mid to upper 40s in the receptions, both over 680 yards. And then you have a decent drop-off. Their 3 and 4 receivers have 27, 26 receptions respectfully. You still can't count them out, though. All in all, this ULL offense is good for 35.5 points a game, which is 15th in the country. They have a really good offense, 18th in total offense with 445 yards. They can move the football. And they can score some freaking points. The Herd is 68th in points allowed with 24.75 points allowed per game and 89th in total defense. We're already allowing 389 yards. It's been inflated a little bit the past few games. But again, Marshall went undefeated in November. So I don't care how many yards you're giving up. I don't care how many points you're giving up. As long as you're scoring more, that's all that really matters. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball for the Cajuns. It's going to be linebacker Casey Asai leading the way for the Cajuns. 6'2", 241. He's a senior. 103 tackles on the season, 53 solo, half a sack, a forced fumble, an interception, and 3 passes defended. He was a first-team All-SBC selection. Linebacker Carmicah Glass, 6'4", 240. Wow, what a build for a linebacker. He's a sophomore, 69 total tackles, 40 of those solo, and a half a sack. He was a SBC honorable mention selection. You got a couple of safeties and a DB here. Safeties, Tyrone Lewis Jr. and Tyree Skipper, 5'11", 200. The senior is Mr. Lewis. 6'2", 207 junior is Mr. Skipper. Tyrone Lewis has 65 total tackles on the year. 32 of those solo, half a sack, 4 picks, a fumble recovery, and 2 passes defended. Second team All-SBC selection. Skipper has 41 tackles, 30 solo. He too has 4 interceptions and 2 passes defended. He was a second team All-Sun Belt Conference selection. And then corner Kenyon Martin, 5'9", 166. He's a senior, 47 tackles, 37 solo, 2 INTs, a forced fumble, and 6 passes defended. A third-team All-SBC selection. Impact plays for the Cajuns across the season: 22 sacks, 15 interceptions, 1 goes for touchdown, 8 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, and 30 passes defended. How does that compared to what Marshall's defense does? Well, Marshall has 34 sacks on the year to the Cajuns 22, just 12 INTs to the Cajuns 15, but Marshall took 2 to the house. Forced fumbles, Marshall gets the edge 11-8. Fumble recoveries 6-5 for the Herd, and passes defended, huge disparity. Marshall 47 passes defended to the Cajuns 30. Marshall in the way of impact plays just makes more. They just make more, and that usually can win or lose games for you if the impact play disparity is skewed one way or the other, just too far in one direction. This Louisiana point defense is allowing 22.75 points per game. That's good for 44th. Marshall is scoring 31 and almost 32 points a game. So that's good for 39th. Marshall's going to have to do a good job in this one of keeping to score points. Louisiana's going to score points. Marshall's got to score points. There ain't no way around it. You cannot settle for field goals. Marshall's going to need touchdowns. The Cajuns' offense is good, and they're going to put up yards and points. The Herd must keep pace. Louisiana is number 42 in total defense, just allowing 341 and some change each game, and Marshall's 75th in total offense, gaining 380. I know these numbers are really similar, but the rankings, I think, they make it seem like it's bigger difference than it is, because a tenth of a yard here and a tenth of a yard there can be the difference between 3 or 4 spots. So I think Louisiana has the edge over Marshall's defense. Louisiana's offense has the edge, but when it comes to the Herd on offense, I think it's kind of even. That's why I'm saying it has to be you have to seize those opportunities. You have to put up points. And then finally, Louisiana kicker Kenneth Almendarez. I don't know if I get that right or not. 6'2", 252. He's a senior. First team all SBC selection, 26-28 on field goals on the year with a long of 53, 46 out of 47 on extra points. This kid is a weapon. He's not a kid. He's a senior. He's an upperclassman. This guy's a man. He's a damn weapon. So Marshall's going to have to keep pace in special teams. We've seen the special teams come up huge for the Herd in the last month of the season. You think about 75 week and the blocked field goal that went for touchdown. You talk about Ian Foster continually putting the Herd in good field position, leading the nation in kick return yard average. I mean, Marshall's got some weapons too, but having an almost automatic kicker, Veerhoff has been really good for Marshall late. The clutch overtime 49-yard field goal to keep the Herd alive and in it. Picked up the fake field goal first down against James Madison. He's been really good too. And this is one of those where you got to let it hang out again, to try to capture a championship. This is pretty evenly matched teams. It's just, I think big plays are going to play the difference. But that being said, what are my keys to victory in this ComAssistKY.com Marshall football preview? I think Marshall's got to have control on early downs, both on offense and defense. They've got to win first and second down to keep themselves in third and manageable, and force Louisiana into longer conversion opportunities to keep the ball moving. I think it's tough, though, because it doesn't really seem to matter. Louisiana just puts up a lot of points and puts up a lot of yards. But I want to keep them having to live in that 3rd and 6 and longer neighborhood all game long, and if Marshall has a healthier A.J. Turner, a healthy Braylon Braxton, and Jordan Houston and Ethan Payne, and, all these guys, I need the Herd to consistently be picking up 4 yards a carry. 4 yards a carry times 3 is 12, and it only takes 10 most of the time to get a first down. That is the recipe for success, I believe, in this one for Marshall. Number 2 key to victory is they're going to have to find a way to get to Ben Woolridge. No two ways about it. If you sit back there and let him pick you apart, that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to demoralize this defense, and he's going to move the football, and the Cajuns are going to rack up touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Like I mentioned, they've got 2 first-team all-conference offensive linemen. Marshall's got defensive in Mike Green, who was the conference player of the year. You talk about guys like Landon Watson and Tyquez Legs and Chris Thomas and Jabari Ishmael, if he's also a go, and D.V. Harris, a 3rd-team all-conference selection for the Herd. Like, these guys can get to quarterbacks. They've been doing it all year. 34 sacks on the year. That's not by accident. That says you've got some talent that can get to the quarterback and harass a quarterback. They're going to need to be able to do it, and I think it's going to take a minimum of 3. Like I said in the big questions, it's going to take 3 or more to be able to put these guys in a position to consistently have success against this Cajun pass game. Number 3 for me, I think the Herd has to play fast. They do much better when they're playing fast, not necessarily with tempo, but they're not thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like they're just playing fast. And things seem to open up more for Marshall when they're clicking, when things are moving at a good pace. Like I like it when they go tempo, but if Louisiana starts to slow the game down, which it doesn't seem like that's their MO, I don't know that plays into Marshall's favor. I think Marshall needs to play a faster game, but they just need to individually play fast. And let's take care of the fundamentals, right? You can't play fast unless you're taking care of first things first. You got to catch the football before you can make a move and try to get upfield, right? You've got to secure the football if you're trying for those harder yards. You can't give them anything easy. You know, you don't want to take yourself out of a scoring opportunity because you didn't take care of football 101. And lastly, number 4 key to victory for me, stay in the moment. Stay in the moment. Marshall has found ways to win games. They went undefeated at home this year. They went undefeated in the month of November for the second time in 3 years. They're playing their best football at the end of the season, and that's exactly when you want to be playing. They were down 17-0 on the road against James Madison, and they've been outgained and outpossessed in the last 2 games, at least on the road, against Old Dominion and James Madison. We've been a road dog both times and won the games. Marshall's plus 5.5 in this one. And I should have checked on this. I heard that the road team has never won a Sun Belt Conference championship. So history is not on the Herd side. But I think who they are is on their side, if that makes sense. They are just a team that is making it happen right now. And I don't think you can just breeze past that. You know, like they might be struggling on offense. They might find themselves in a hole from time to time. Things might bog down and not look very good, but they've won 5 straight games or something like. I mean, ever since the loss to Georgia Southern, Marshall has taken the reins and not looked back. And their backs were against the wall. They knew they needed to win them all, but most likely to get into a conference championship game. And here we are. And we didn't come this far to only come this far, right? All the news aside, all the Coach Huff leaving for, Southern Miss, expected to be announced following the game or, Sunday or late Saturday, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. If the man goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. Right now, the task at hand is winning a Sun Belt championship. All these players are dialed in and locked in on that singular task. Whatever happens after that, happens. Marshall football will not close its doors because a coach leaves. We didn't close our doors in 1970 after the plane crash, and we're not going to close the doors because a coach takes another job. Coaches come and go. Players come and go. The Herd will remain. When I was a student in the 90s, and I don't like to say this all the time, the motto around Marshall football was, we play for championships, because that's what we did annually. And now in the modern football era, it's a little bit harder to play for those championships consistently, but here we are. We're playing for a championship on Saturday. You can't just play for them. You got to win one. The last time Marshall went to a conference championship game, 2020, we lost, and it was on our home field, and you don't do that in Huntington, West Virginia. Now we got to go on the road, and we got to win one. The last time we were on the road for a conference championship game was 2013 at Rice, and we lost that one, and we came back and won on our home field the very next year. It's been a decade since Marshall has hoisted a conference championship trophy, and that is just too damn long. You got to take care of the business this week and let the chips fall where they may. On to my MVPs in this ComAssistKY.com Marshall football preview. I think the offensive MVP is going to have to be the entire run game, whether that's Braylon Braxton, the bevy of running backs, and maybe even some wideouts on jet sweep. Whatever they call for run plays are going to have to be successful. Marshall's going to have a better than average day than they've had the past couple of weeks. They've been far below their average the past couple of weeks. They need to surpass that. The Herd has been averaging around 200 rushing yards. I think we need to go over that. I think we need to assert some dominance if we can and go over that. Defensively, it's the defensive line unit. However you've got to get to Ben Woolridge, you better do it. And whatever you've got to do to plug up those running lanes and decrease the likelihood of running success by UL running backs, you better do it, dude. There is no tomorrow. It is today only. It doesn't matter what bowl game you're going to. Whether you win the conference or lose the conference championship game, you're going to go to a pretty similar bowl. Okay, so you want the conference championship trophy. That's what you want. Let it all hang out right here, right? Bowl games are cool and everything, but it's a bowl game, dude. I like them. I like to win them. I want a conference championship. Let it all freaking hang out here. How about a score prediction? Yep, I've got one. Give me the Herd on the road, taking care of business one more time in the thinnest of margins, 38-34, a 4-point victory for the Herd on the road, hoisting the Sun Belt Conference championship and becoming a champion in every single FBS conference that we've played in. MAC champs, Conference USA champs, and add to it Sun Belt champions. Let's take care of our business, hoist a trophy, and come back to Huntington with some hardware. With that being said, it's been one hell of a cool season. There have been some unbelievable plays that we'll talk about forever. There will be some unbelievable games that we'll talk about for a long time. It's all been overshadowed recently about this weird story about Coach Huff leaving for a conference mate. If that holds to be true, good luck to him. I can't control those things, and I'm not going to carry ill will with me because that I don't have time for that. Some people can do that if they want to. I don't care. I'll be happy that he brought us a conference championship. That's what it's all about. That's why you hire a coach, to win championships. And, if we're not able to get the job done and coach leaves anyway, I still don't mind, because the next coach comes in, has a job to do, and that's win a championship. So take it for what it's worth. I think we're here to win us a title and put Marshall on the map in the Sun Belt in a bigger way. With that being said, I'm going to take us out of here. Whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Dot, or whether you see us hoisting the freaking trophy on at Cajun Field on Saturday, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd. We'll see you next week with a Sun Belt Conference Championship game recap. Later.